Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei becomes a lone dragon emperor and married 10 girls part 2. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the NOSFERATU869 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. The sound of weeping. The sobbing of an older woman, a senior woman. The old woman was sitting in the first row of a church, holding on to a young boy, while weeping softly. Sitting next to them was a middle-aged couple and their young daughter, who was sleeping in her father's arms with a blanket over her head. The boy that the old woman was holding onto had a never-ending stream of tears running down his cheek silently. His expression contrasted his tears, as it was seemingly blank. Yet, the sorrow in his heart was incomparable. Many people were seated in the rows behind them. 2 large families, each on a different side. The side corresponding to the respective coffin of their loved one. And in the front of the church, there were the objects of interest. 2 coffins and 2 portraits on the side of each coffin. 2 empty coffins. Sob. Sobbing was heard throughout the church. Though not very loud, a few of them were noticeable. Light music was being played while a couple of televisions were going through a slideshow of pictures of the family. Most of them included their son. The slideshow began with their first Christmas together as a young couple and ended with a photo as recent as a month ago, displaying their time at the beach with their son and his young friend. Whenever the slideshow ended, it faded to black, then showed a slide displaying their birth dates and death dates. After that, the slideshow repeated itself over again. Satoshi did not count how many times he watched the slideshow repeat itself. At this point, he memorized the entire order of the ensemble of pictures. He was glad that his little girl was asleep on his shoulder. It was early in the morning, so she was always asleep during this time. He would prefer that she didn't watch her beloved great aunt or her beloved cousin weep together. His wife was the unlucky one, being seated right next to the crying duo on her left. Although, she did volunteer as to not let her daughter easily hear their sorrow and interrupt her sleep. Every once in a while, someone went up to the coffins to pay respects or spend a few seconds of silence in front of them. It felt like the services had been going on for hours and hours. With each passing minute, the reality before him had finally set in for Satoshi. His cousin was gone. So was the man's wife. The Haidu family was essentially no more. And his aunt, Issei's grandmother, now only had one son. A grandson that has yet to have had children with his wife. The only true remnant of her deceased child being his very own son, which she held in her arms, her grandson. Satoshi's gaze was locked onto the coffin of his cousin. A coffin, he knew well, was empty. But in his voice, all he could hear was his cousin's voice. Satoshi. You won't believe it. He's alive. My boy is alive. We're at the hospital right now. He's in my arms. My baby boy is alive. He's healthy. His name is Issei. After 2 failures, we finally did it. Oh, thank God. Thank God. I may just become a Christian after all. Oba-san. The thing that snapped Satoshi from his memories was the robotic-sounding voice of his nephew. Satoshi turned to his wife, whom the boy had seemingly called out to. The boy had a hand tugging on Akane's shirt. He was looking up at her with an emptiness in his expression and hollow eyes. Where are Mom and Dad? I want to see them. The boy's grandmother slowly wrapped her arms around his entire body, putting him in a blanket and holding onto him as she began sobbing loudly. Sob. Sob. Her cries reverberated off of the walls of the quiet church. One of Satoshi's shaking hands was brought up to his face as he held his head in it, and the sounds of his memories played in his head again. The daughter, huh? Well, that should definitely make both of our mothers happy. Who knows, my mother might end up liking her more than she likes Issei. Though I doubt it. Ah, and if we get desperate, we can just marry them off in the future. How about it? He could not cry, for he had his sleeping daughter in his arms. Yet as if to respond, his body would begin to quiver to an unreasonable degree. The Haidu family was no more. It was the next day. The day after the services. In the early morning, a young girl named Maki Akawa was watching some of her favorite TV shows, mostly consisting of magical girls series. Though she enjoyed watching the series regularly, she didn't seem to be enjoying it as much as she normally would. Mama. Maki called out to her mother from the kitchen, who was cooking an ensemble of her favorite foods from hamburger to taki and more. There was also a large cake on the table. When is Nai gonna wake up? She asked her mother with a sad face. It's no wonder she would be asking that. Of course she would want to be spending her birthday with the cousin she loved so much. That's right. It was her birthday today. The day after the services. What cruel irony. Her mother responded in an unsure manner. Well, dear, I don't know. Ani-chan is very tired from yesterday after all. Maki lowered her head dejectedly. She grew a bit of a pout. She wiggled her little body off of the couch she was sitting on, landing on the floor, and made her way out of the room. Maki-chan. The cane looked back when she didn't hear her daughter respond. She didn't see her on the couch, so she decided to peer out of the kitchen. The only thing she saw was a small body making its way up the stairs. Ah. No. Maki-chan, wait. The cane quickly turned the stove off as to not burn anything and scrambled over to catch her daughter before she reached the upstairs bedroom that she didn't want her to. But as she made her way up the stairs, she realized she was a bit too slow. Knock. Nai. Let's play. No. Maki-chan. The cane knelt down to Maki's level and placed her hands on her shoulders. Listen, Maki-chan. You can't be bothered by Ani-chan when it's a time like this. I know it's your birthday, and I'm sure Ani-chan wants to spend time with you too, but he can't. But why? Nai don't love Maki. No, that's not it. I'm sure that he does, but… Unfortunately, Maki was much too young to comprehend the concept of death yet. So even if a cane tried to explain Issei's grief to her, Maki wouldn't understand it. If anything, it was sad that she was just a young girl, wondering why her beloved cousin was locked in a room on her birthday, rather than playing with her. She wonders if this is how the memory will stick in her head. Knock. An odd pattern of knocks was heard from the other side of the door. Ah. Maki ran to the door excitedly and reciprocated the knocks. Though, unlike the previous knocks, they didn't have a proper sequence. The series of knocks continued, and again, Maki reciprocated them. But after Maki's last knocks, the door went silent. There was no response. Maki's smile faded away and was replaced with a sad pout. Until… Akin. The door suddenly flew open. Who the heck is knocking on my dang door so much, eh? Out of nowhere, the door to the room swung open, and a broadly smiling Issei came out and attacked Maki with ferocious tickles. He finally released her and stood over her menacingly. You better argue Yuan. Or else the scary dragon will burn you alive. Maki scurried across the floor to reach the stairs and crawled quickly downstairs. Issei only smiled as he watched her make her way down. The cane didn't know how to respond. But she knew that she felt worried. Issei interrupted her sentence. He turned to Akane with a small smile. I'm okay, I have to be okay because today is Maki-chan's day. Issei walked off without saying anything more, making his way down the stairs. In the dead of night, Issei was standing in the middle of the forest. He was training, for the first time ever. He planted his gauntlet into the body of a tree. The impact was not substantial. It hardly left some scratches. Unfortunate, partner. It doesn't seem as though you've done any damage. As I thought, even with your potential, you are still much too young. Why? Is this really everything? Thud. Issei fell flat on his back, onto the floor, clearly exhausted. I'm afraid so, partner. In the end, you are still just a boy. You may be able to handle 2 boosts of your strength, which is leagues above what any other host of mine could do when first activating their gear at similar ages, let alone activating it so young. In fact, as of currently, you're the second youngest host in history to have unlocked the gear. However, none of that necessarily indicates that you would grow properly. There was somebody younger than me. Indeed. He was only 5 years old. Meanwhile, you are nearly 2 years above him. He was quite a terrifying host. His circumstances prompted the gear necessary for his survival. Not only once, but every waking day. Had he lived a full life, I do not doubt that he would have become my strongest host. He died young. Correct. He was killed before he reached a proper adolescence. He was the age of 15. That's really young. It is. Quite unfortunate. However, I find it even more fortunate that you lived through your experience. I sense potential within you that surpasses even his. Really? You think I'm gonna be strong? Exceedingly so. Your current state is not exemplary, that much is true. Nevertheless, I feel that, should you pursue strength, it will not evade you. Which means… I believe that if you do not neglect your training, you may become my strongest host. Neglect. To ignore or leave alone. If you train, you will become strong. That is all that matters. Okay, but like you said before, how can I train? You already told me that I was too young to do anything. So what do I do? Indeed, the greatest obstacle we currently face is that there is not much training you can accomplish at your level. The most ideal choice would be to advance your base level. Your body is that of a child, but at the very least, you may be able to increase the limit of your boosts. That would solve many problems. But as it is, that doesn't seem possible without proper regiment of some sort. So all I can do is work out like a normal person. I do not believe that will be enough. Something more may be necessary. But we must make do with whatever we currently have. So increasing just the strength of your body will have to do. Being a kid sucks. Partner. Issei's body whipped up in terror. That noise. That same noise. A scream. An ear-piercing screech. The screech of a nightwalker. Chills. Issei jumped up to his feet almost immediately. The monster. The monster. The nightwalker. Why? How? This wasn't. I thought you said they would have captured all of those things. I do not understand either, partner. The devils themselves had stated they would capture every specimen. I did not exactly trust their words, but even so, there was a full-scale barrier of an unbelievable class surrounding that entire town of yours. Even if they did not capture them all, they could not have escaped as long as the devils were there. Most especially the Nightwalker, which has a very noticeable presence. There surely should have been no possibility of one escaping. It seems that there was much more to the situation that we did not know of at the time. Who cares? What do I do? Escape, partner. It is advancing in your direction. From the west, behind you. TKS. Crack. TKS. I can hear it moving in the trees. It's moving fast. It's making its way straight towards you, partner. It's time to return to your home. If you make your way fast enough, it should easily lose you as long as I mask your presence. They may be cowardly when confronted, but the moment a Nightwalker is made aware of their advantage, they know no fear. The trick of activating your gear will not work as it did last time. Not as long it is aware of your current strength. And I do not know how long it will take until your power resets. Issei bolted, running through the forest, back to where he came from. How can it tell how strong I am? Think of it as a wild animal. The moment it reaches you, it will immediately become aware of your difference in strength, even with your 2 boosts. Okay, so can it smell me, or how will it find me? I believe its primary reliance is on sound. So then shouldn't I stop running and making noise? No. In that case, it would simply hear your breathing. Right. Ah, man. Well, hopefully I lose it before I escape the forest. Skid. Issei suddenly grinded to a halt in the middle of a small clearing. Why do you stop, partner? Greg, what happens when I escape? What do you mean? This thing, what will happen to it? I do not know. It will most likely try to find its way out of the forest and reach civilization. Luckily, your residence is quite distanced from this place. It will reach others before it reaches you. Surely, the devils will be made aware of it once many inexplicable deaths are reported. Either way, it will not pose an immediate threat to you or your current family. Rustle. The Drake's surprise, Issei turned his body in the direction of the sounds of rustling. The rustling and cracking of tree branches were headed straight towards him. What are you doing, boy? You're telling me to run away, just like last time? But in Issei's mind, the images of a bloodied girl and her mother's severed head flashed quickly by. You're telling me to let this thing run loose? Of course I am. You are but a mere child. There is simply nothing you can do. Issei's mind went into disarray. The entirety of Issei's memories from that day played back in his head, while Drake's words repeated themselves continuously. Memories blended with trauma. Little did the boy ever know how exactly these words would haunt him for the rest of his life. Corpses. There is simply nothing you can do. Blood. There is simply nothing you can do. Eyes. There is simply nothing you can do. Vomit. There is simply nothing you can do. Heads. And a woman's severed hand. There is simply nothing you can do. It's here. Rustle. Crack. Rustle. Before he knew it, Issei was hearing harsh rustling and cracking sounds from all around him. It was as if there were more than one beast. No, it was just too fast for him to follow. Greg. If you want us to survive, then tell me where it's coming from. The foolish endeavor. You will lose your life for nothing. Break. The left. In a split second, the sudden breaking of a branch under pressure sounded off, quickly followed by a screech. The beast was flying straight at him. Ding. The best defense Issei could do was hold up his boosted gear and hope that the slash didn't connect. It worked to deflect the attack, but Issei was sent sliding on the floor, on his back. Skid. Immediately after its attack failed, the Nightwalker immediately launched itself back into the trees in order to repeat the process. Erg. Stand up. It will not let you rest. Right. In fact, just as Drake stated. Break. The Nightwalker immediately leaped out from the tree line behind Issei. Behind. Ding. Issei deflected the attack at the last second, and again, he was sent sliding against the floor. Skied. Arg. As if to toy with him, the Nightwalker slept back into the cover of the trees again. Rustle. NNGH. Is it just gonna keep doing it until I die or something? Most likely, yes. It doesn't seem as if it is trying to confront you. Rather, it is almost toying with you, like an animal would with its meat prey. Well, what do I do so that it does face me? I would highly suggest you avoid direct confrontation. The current situation is already bad enough, but at the very least, you can still survive by running. Then again, you have no intention of doing so, isn't that right? If that truly is the case, then we are facing almost certain death. You may technically have a better chance at survival if you kill it during a confrontation, but that possibility is extremely low. Both your chances of survival and death would increase during a confrontation, but your survival is only guaranteed if you flee. Okay. So how do I get it to fight me? HMPH foolish boy. If you so crudely desire to die, then simply find a way to damage it so that it may confront you. As I have said before, they may be cowardly in nature, but once they are aware of their advantage they should know no fear. Therefore, injuring even slightly would only agitate it greatly, since you are a weaker existence than it. It will face you then. Okay. So I just have to hurt it. Tell me when it's coming, Drake. Just as Issei and Drake's communication was ending, the Nightwalker leapt out from the tree line again, and their game of attack, deflect, flee started all over again. Break. Right. Whoa. Ding. Ah. A little bit earlier than that, Drake. Break. Above. What? However, this time, the beast unexpectedly jumped high above Issei, quickly descending on his body which had already been knocked to the ground. On. It landed right on top of Issei, with its legs landing on his sides, causing him to eject spit. It screeched straight in his face as it raised one of its claws to slash him. Now, you fool. Without a second thought, Issei instinctively sent the claws of the boosted gear into what could be classified as the throat of the beast. Spleg. A disgusting wet noise. Issei's claws did not pierce it, but it left some scratch marks on its smooth skin, and a dark-colored blood spilled out a bit. The beast screeched in what seemed like pain and removed itself from Issei, jumping back into the trees while continuing to screech. Issei lifted his upper body and wiped some sweat from his brow. He felt disgusted. After what happened back in Kuo, he was finally able to get a good look at the foul beast from up close. Its body was similar to a human structure, but with elongated features and almost no meat on it. And yet, whenever it took a breath, its stomach would fill up with air in a repulsive manner. Its skin was smooth and almost looked gelatinous, as if it was wet skin from an amphibian. To contrast that, it had some loose, dead skin hanging from various places. Contrary to what Issei first believed, the beast did have a mouth. It was hardly noticeable. It was a long mouth with things resembling teeth, but as if the teeth were made from just the skin of its mouth. The mouth could never open beyond a certain extent because there were strings of skin holding it mostly shut. Issei was confused by the sudden noises. He heard a screech, followed by something that sounded like slamming. Greg. Do I do something? Nothing significant. Then what is? I told you once before, didn't I? It is agitated. Have you heard it? Issei paused to listen to his surroundings. He did hear the beast screaming quite violently, almost as if it was enraged. But more than that, he heard some thumping and cracking sounds. It was breaking tree branches and slamming the ground. Like a child throwing a tantrum, the beast was infuriated. It will surely approach you quickly, as you wanted. Well, great. Rustle. Crack. Bam. Issei whipped his body around after hearing a large thud from behind him. The beast was sitting there. Creak. A sound similar to wood creaking in a large house was emitted from the beast as it slowly rose up. The difference in size was suddenly made grossly apparent when the beast finally stood upright. The Nightwalker easily towered over Issei, with more than 2 meters to its height. Step by step, slowly approached Issei, causing him to retreat slowly. The beast slashed at Issei without warning. He dived immediately to his left in order to dodge it at the last second. But the beast continued to slash at him, again and again, prompting Issei to dodge and dive constantly from near-death attacks. One of the slashes ended up scratching Issei's face and leaving a long bleeding mark under his right eye. Oh, that'll be hard to explain. Issei's back ended up coming into contact with a tree, effectively cornering him. The Nightwalker slashed at Issei's head, causing him to dive under its legs and crawl away. Wah? The moment Issei was behind the beast, he turned around and realized that the beast was struggling with something. It was stuck. Its 3-pronged claw was strictly planted into the tree that it struck. Break. It forcibly ripped its claw from the tree. Issei could see the deep gash left in the trunk. The tree was severely damaged. How durable do you think that tree is? The beast should most certainly have a greater chance at damaging the tree than yourself. Glad we're on the same page. The beast screeched at Issei before lunging at him. Issei rolled out of the way and returned to the spot in front of the tree once more. This may be a terrible idea. The Nightwalker then released a relentless onslaught of attacks on Issei, who could only block using his gear. He could hardly stand the impact of every attack, practically being slapped around from the intense pressure. The fact that he could still stand was probably all due to the boosts he was using. With the flurry of attacks being sent, his prior strategy does not seem like it would work out at all, at this rate. That was until the monster lifted one of its claws high up into the air, most likely as a charged attack meant to slice him right in half. There's your chance, boy. Duck. Zin. Issei ducked the moment the Nightwalker slashed, and once again, the beast's claw was planted into the trunk. This time, its claw was planted even further within the trunk than before. Issei crawled out from under the beast and stood behind it. The beast screeched from pure rage. It lifted its remaining left claw and furiously slashed at the tree in order to free its trapped right claw. For some reason, Issei couldn't help but smirk the moment the foul beast finally retracted its claw. I can't take another one of those slashing combos, but it looks like I won't have to. Here goes nothing. On. Issei dug his gauntlet into the dirt and brought it out with a great amount of force, effectively spreading a large dust cloud into the beast's face. Issei then immediately made his move and dashed into the dust and around the beast to where the damaged spot of the tree was. He was back in his original spot. Why? Well. The beast whipped its head around, indicating that, despite not seeing him, could still perfectly hear him. It brought up a claw to slash at him. Yes. Slice. Issei dove away from the attack and out of the beast's line of sight. It only took one glance back to realize. He had won. Crack. The trunk of the tree released a loud crack. The support of the tree was compromised. And as a result, the tree trunk broke under the pressure of its own weight and collapsed. Crack. And the Nightwalker was effectively crushed by the falling tree. Silence. The body of the Nightwalker under the tree did not move. I did it. Indeed you did, partner. He. Out of relief or perhaps even joy, Issei laughed. His loud laughter was released freely into the night sky as he fell flat onto his back. Hi to Issei. You are an abnormal host. Never did I imagine that I would encounter a host that would defeat a Nightwalker with the body of a child. Yeah, I didn't think I would ever beat one either or even meet one. Issei lifted himself up from the ground with a groan. I actually did it. He slowly stepped closer to the fallen tree. He could only look down at the smashed remains of the monster. Its limbs were still mostly intact thanks to being so long and spread out, but its main body was completely crushed into some black ink-esque liquid. The remains reeked of a familiar human smell. Human insides at least. Whether this thing ate people or not is something Issei doesn't know and does not want to know. Part of Issei wonders if this beast is the same one from the last time. Greg, do you know if this is the same one from before? I do not. Unfortunately, I was awakened a tad too late to recognize any unique features on the Nightwalker fleeing from your first encounter. Not to mention that the Nightwalker beasts do not necessarily possess any specific aura of their own to identify. Though, if I was to be entirely honest with you, I do believe this may be the one. I see. Issei continued to stare down at the beast's remains, silently. His eyes slowly wandered over to the three-fingered claw sticking out from under the trunk. The memory of a woman's severed head being squeezed in between three large black claws. Her hollow eyes were ever so slightly open and her mouth was left agape. She must have died instantly. Splat. Issei's shoe landed on the claw and crushed one of its talons. 12 a.m. Issei had finally returned home after over an hour's walk from the forest he was in. It was incredibly difficult to find his way home from a place he's only been to once, especially in the dead of night. Once he reached his home, he quickly and quietly entered through the back entrance he left unlocked and made his way upstairs. His body felt heavy after his boosts reset halfway through walking home. He felt like he would collapse soon. Making his way up the stairs was also an arduous task, considering that his heavy body was difficult to tiptoe with as to avoid making noise. Issei washed his face a bit in the restroom, aside from some of the blood left by the slash on his face. If he washed it, it would become obvious that he obtained it when he was awake late at night and he was perfectly aware of it. He needed to make it look like an accident and one that he wasn't aware of. How he will do this, he still doesn't know. After he cleaned himself off a bit, Issei snuck back into his bedroom silently. Phew. The moment he entered his room, he froze momentarily. He heard a soft breathing, only to notice the little body lying in his bed. That's right, Maki was sleeping with him tonight. It was her birthday today after all. She was allowed to sleep with him without objection from anyone. Issei snuck past the bed and opened the closet slowly. He quickly changed out of his dirty clothes and into a normal shirt and shorts. After he was done, he approached the sleeping beauty on his bed and smiled sweetly at her. He couldn't help but stifle a giggle in response to her sleep talking. He truly loved his adorable little cousin. Unfortunately, his smile did not last long. Due to the previous event, he was soon reminded of the resemblance between the orphan girl he saved and his new lovely family member. Along with that face came the memories of the girl's deceased mother. He had finally killed the monster responsible for that girl's family's demise. But the girl will never know. Even if she knew, would something like that make her feel better? Her family was killed by a monster she didn't even know existed, and now that monster is dead as well, so be happy. Be happy that the monster who tore her family apart and possibly ate them right before her eyes is now dead. They were the same, Issei and that girl. They were both young orphans. Just normal, brown-haired children with no family, left alone in an empty house, covered in blood. Was a beast like that the same one that killed his parents? Did his parents die in a similar way? He doesn't remember much from the funeral. His parents' coffins were empty. He knew that much there were practically no remains left of them. His chest suddenly tightened. Did they get eaten? Issei knelt down to the side of the bed and spawned his gauntlet for a brief moment. Crack. He used it to break off a piece of the bed, exposing some of the wood underneath. Maki stirred in her sleep but stopped when Issei caressed her head. She was a very heavy sleeper. He reached over Maki's head and grabbed the pillow beside her. He picked it up and began to walk out of the room. For some reason, he had decided to step out for a minute. Akin. He exited the room and made his way quietly down the stairs. He walked over to the entrance of the living area and slid open the slider door. He stepped into the empty, dark living room. Humph. He approached the couch and dropped onto it with a pillow stuck to his face. It muffled his breathing. And what was surely soon to follow. Hey, honey. Put that stupid newspaper down and eat your breakfast already. At this rate, it'll get cold before I even finish making your coffee. No, dear. A man should never eat his breakfast without his coffee. If anything, I should be drinking my coffee before I eat my breakfast. But I'm not drinking coffee, Tusan. Of course not, Issei. You're a boy, not a man. You aren't old enough to be a man yet. Yes, Ice. It's just as your father says. You're not a man. Boys are innocent and lovely, while men are idiots and perverts. Issei silently lost himself in the memories of his peaceful past. And though his hands felt weak, his grip on the pillow tightened. Ara-ka-san, are you implying that Issei will grow up to be an idiot? Of course not. My baby Issei is a smart, wonderful young boy. His father, however, is a perverted dummy who's more in love with coffee than food. And I do not doubt that this father of his would influence him with his foolish and perverted ideas. Ha! You hear that, Issei? Your mother thinks I'll turn you into a pervert. Don't even worry about that. Trust me, my boy, I will personally make sure you will be able to fulfill the dreams I could not. Oh no, don't tell me you're still going on about that harem king business even today. I will succeed. Even if it is through my own son. His victory is my victory. And he will capture the hearts of every woman he desires. But I don't care about other girls. The only girl I like is Mama. Ma, do you hear that, honey? It looks like you have some serious competition. Wano. My own son something like this. Even his own mother. Has my own child surpassed my knowledge of the harem dream? I can't believe it. I won't lose. I cannot lose. Not to my own son. Oh, don't you worry about him, Ice. Your father gets like that sometimes. Try not to be like him, okay? But I want to be just like you sang when I grow up. I want to marry a girl just like Kasan and have a boy just like me. That's my boy. Ah, but you can't have your real mother, alright? Seriously, Otu-san will cry if he can't even keep his wife, so please spare me. Oh hush, you. It doesn't matter who it is, Ice grows up to be like or who he meets. He will always be a wonderful boy, and I'm sure he will meet a lovely young girl who wants to marry him. He will do great things and become a great man. And he will always be our little boy. Issei's overwhelming screams of sorrow were muffled into the pillow and lost to the night, never to be heard by anyone. Morning. Knock, knock. Ice-kun, Maki-chan. Time for breakfast. Akin. The cane opened the door to Issei's bedroom where the two children were sleeping. The first to awake was the messy-haired Maki. Mama. Morning, Dar Ice-kun, are you? The cane walked over to them with a smile until Issei lifted himself up from next to Maki. He had a long scratch resting under his right eye with some dried up blood smears on it. Oh my. Ice-kun, what happened? Are you okay? When did you get this? Does it hurt? Oh lord. Honey. Get in here. In only a few seconds, Satoshi came running in after his wife's call. What? What is it? Look at Ice-kun's face. Unbelievable. What happened, Issei-kun? I fell and hit my face on the side of the bed last night, but I didn't think anything happened, so I just went to sleep. I guess I didn't feel it a lot. Issei faked a nervous smile and rubbed his neck. This was his lie strategy. Oh dear. Look at this. The cane pointed down towards the side of the bed, where a broken piece of wood was being displayed prominently. Ice-kun. Did this break when you fell on it? And no, that was like that already. I think I just fell on it. Satoshi knelt down to look at the broken part of the bed. The wood piece that was torn off was nowhere to be seen on the floor, meaning that this section was already broken before Issei hit himself. Supposedly. Well, Issei-kun certainly isn't lying. There is a bit of blood on this right here. If it had broken off when he hit it, then there would still be a missing piece lying around somewhere, and there would be no blood-stained smear on the wood contained inside. The blood would rather be on the broken piece, which is nowhere to be seen. And judging by the fact that there are some blood smears on his pillow and face, Issei-kun must have really just slept on it. The only odd thing is that Issei-kun was sleeping on the opposite side of the bed. But maybe he just moved spots after he fell. Issei was glad he thought through the strategy behind his wound. Satoshi was no fool. In fact, he was more like a genius. He's also glad that he smeared blood where he could. That would make sense. Though, the pillow was more of a chance than anything. Well, can you fix it, dear? I don't want Maki or Ice-kun to accidentally hurt themselves again. Oh, yes. Don't worry, I'll do something about it. How odd. I swear this bed has always been in perfect condition. Even when we moved it in, I was sure that it didn't get hit anywhere. Oh well. Both of you, keep your distance from the edge of the bed, you hear? The children both nodded their heads. Okay, come on, you two. Ice-kun, let's wash your face and both of your hands so we can eat some breakfast. Hurry along now, Satoshi has to get to work and take Ice-kun to his new school. Upon realizing what day it was, Issei thought grimly to himself. Oh, right. So that was today. Maybe I shouldn't have gone out yesterday. My shoulders hurt a lot and everything else too. 1 hour later. Oh, I know, honey, but Ani-chan has to go school now. Come now, you can play with him when he gets home, right? I don't want Nai to go. I don't want it. The little Maki was crying in her mother's arms at the doorway of the household while Issei walked alongside Satoshi to the car. It was time for Issei to leave for school after all, much to Maki's dismay. I'll be back, Maki-chan. Be a good girl till then. Be safe, you too. Yes, we know. We'll be back soon. Satoshi and Issei entered the car and drove off while waving at the girls standing at the door. Issei and Satoshi sat in the car quietly as they drove to Issei's new school. Satoshi was not a very talkative person. It's part of the reason why his cousin was more popular amongst people than he was. And Issei was that man's child. He was just as talkative and playful as his father. So their compatibility in terms of personality is not very high, despite their relationship being fairly good. Nevertheless, Satoshi decided to break the silence. Are you nervous about being at your new school, Issei-kun? Issei shook away his slight tiredness and focused on his uncle. Sorry. No, not really. I don't really have anything to be nervous about. Huh? You're not worried about being in a new school with new people? No, why would I be? Well, you'll be in an entirely new environment with people you don't recognize all around you. You're not worried about what they'd say or think. No. If they're all people I don't know, then there's no reason to be nervous about what they think since I don't know them. Is that so? Yeah. For some reason, this caused Satoshi to smirk. Hey, you're just like your father. Hey? Really? Yeah. Your attitude towards people is just like his. Even if they think or say something about you that isn't true or nice, you don't care. You can just be yourself and make friends through your own charisma. In the end, you become popular whether people like it or not. Even if he is annoying sometimes, I always envied that part of him. Issei couldn't help but look down at his hands and smile. So that's what his uncle thought of him. It might seem odd to the average person, but Issei was happy being perceived as an extension of his father. It was something that made him feel proud. Hopefully, there were parts of him that resembled his mother as well. You also have your mother's eyes. Maybe most of her facial features in general. Thank goodness, to be honest. No offense, but your father wasn't as handsome as his wife was pretty, ha. As if to answer Issei's wishes, his uncle told him exactly what he wanted to hear. Thanks, Oji-san. No problem. Once again, the silence between them returned, but this time, it was a bit more pleasant. Issei rested his chin on his palm and gazed out the window. He lost himself in his thoughts. The drive was quiet and it seemed like the world was passing him by quickly. Every minute they passed a place he didn't recognize. It really was an entirely new place, just like his uncle said. Nagoya was a place he never explored. Kuo technically resided on the outskirts of Nagoya, but it was quite detached from most places. It was like the small-town version of big towns. Issei never knew any place outside of it. Even his grandparents, who lived in Kyoto, came to visit him, so he never got to leave Kuo. I suppose this is my new home. Issei was lost in contemplation until something substantial caught his eye. The martial arts dojo. Issei jumped up excitedly and bumped his head on the hood of the car. What's wrong, Issei-kun? Issei didn't even think to rub his head as he answered his uncle with enthusiasm. Oji-san. I just had a great idea. What's that? I want to do martial arts. Huh? Martial arts? That's right. The thing that took Issei's attention was none other than a martial arts building. Judo, to be specific. You want to take martial arts classes? Yeah. Can I, please? Satoshi smiled unexpectedly. He was glad that Issei was taking interest in something like this. It meant that Issei was truly recovering, even if only by a bit. Of course you can. Yes. Thank you, Oji-san. Ahaha. You better not join and give up the moment somebody beats you through. The Haidus weren't quitters, you hear? Yeah. Yes. I found it. I found our solution. Is that so? I certainly am glad to hear that, partner. It seems you will have the opportunity to become stronger after all. Issei smirked and gained a determined look in his eyes. Dad, wait for me, I'll make this right, I'll get justice for both of you. No matter how long it take. In a certain dojo, a young brown-haired boy, for lack of a better phrase, was just knocked onto his ass. Haidu Issei was lying on his back with his legs in the air, flipped over his head. He groaned as he realized that this meant he had lost. Not bad, my boy. Keep it up and you'll be 5th Kaiu in no time at all. Above the boy stood a man with dark brown hair and a goatee. Both the man and Issei were wearing similar guy, but with different colored belts. Ooh, thanks, master, that sure makes me feel a lot better. Hahaha. Sorry about that. Alright, come on up. The man extended his hand for Issei to pick himself up. Issei only stared at the man's arm with an unamused expression. He was practically flipped upside down after all. The hand wasn't going to help much. The man, his martial arts master, sweat dropped. I suppose you'd have to fix your posture first, huh? Thud. Issei's legs dropped from the air and he was finally lying down normally. He lifted his upper body up and his master's hand appeared before him again. This time, Issei took the hand to lift himself up. The boy who stood up was now 8-year-old Haidu Issei. In the background of the dojo was an entire class of martial artists training together. They were a class of young children. As I thought, Issei, among all of my young Kaiu juniors and seniors, you are most definitely the most proficient student. Maybe even the strongest. Hahaha, sorry. Sometimes it just seems like you get stronger out of nowhere for some reason. That's crazy. Issei couldn't help but laugh awkwardly while averting his gaze. Well, my point is that you've been progressing very well. I'm sure you'll reach the blue belt soon. Who knows, you may even reach the brown belt before next year. Hahaha. Issei's master proudly laughed out all of the air in his lungs. This man really loved bragging about his student successes. Most especially when it came to his children's students, who always happened to be harder to instruct. But he was right. Issei was a prodigy. His prowess was something that could rival a full-grown adult. The reason why was obvious to no one but Issei himself. 2 years. It has been 2 years since the incident in Kuo and since Issei moved to Nagoya with his cousins. Issei is currently 8 years old, with his birthday being a few months off, to age 9 in the summer. Just short 5 months off of being 3 years since that day. Issei was a natural when it came to his training. A true prodigy. Or at the very least, it seemed that way to his instructor and peers. None of his young peers could properly defeat him unless they were experienced enough, amongst those being teenage students. And even then, somehow, Issei seemed stronger than them, at times. As if he would randomly receive a strength buff during certain practices, his natural base strength was above average. As good as a young child could be, most would assume. But sometimes, it was unreal. Issei had defeated some adults before. Many had just assumed that those adults threw the matches, but many of those beaten would argue about it, in disbelief about what happened. They were usually laughed off by others, who were convinced they didn't take it seriously. Either way, it couldn't be denied that Issei's growth as a student was spectacular for Kiritsugu, his master, and his dojo. Kiritsugu didn't have a great abundance of students, maybe 100 in total. But thanks to students like Issei, as long as he trains them properly, he can earn merits and recognition for their achievements as martial artists, including events like tournaments. And eventually, it should bring in many newcomers. After all, it does sound great for the youngest martial artist to earn 4th Kaiu in Judo after graduating from Kiritsugu Academy. For such a small-name place like his to become recognized throughout Aichi, that would be his dream. He hopes with every fiber of his being that Issei devotes himself to becoming a professional martial artist. Maybe even an instructor. But, inside, Issei has very different plans. Nai. Standing at the entrance of the dojo was a young girl with short brown hair and a bright smile, waving to Issei with both of her arms in a frantic manner. Her mother stood beside her, smiling apologetically. Ah, looks like your family came to pick you up. I was hoping you'd stay a bit longer to help out with the junior Caillou. Sorry. I'll try to help out next week. Yeah. Don't go doing anything crazy over the weekend that'll put you out of commission when you come back. Yes, shushu. Alright, off you go. Issei bowed to his master, who returned the bow and ran off to his family. He was immediately embraced by his younger cousin, Maki, when reaching them. Nai. Hey, you goof. From beside the two children, Issei's aunt, Akane, handed him his shoes. Here are your shoes, Ice-kun. Issei took the shoes while Maki, who was latched onto him, sang his name and coughed a bit. Despite her coughing, her grip around Issei only increased. Now, Maki. You can play with him once we get home, so at least let him walk properly. Ugh, it's too late, Abba-san, my neck is being crushed. Within a certain school, a trio of boys were gathering their supplies from their desks and preparing to leave class. Nah, did you guys watch Gundam last night? Not me. My mom took us to my OG-san's house yesterday. It was so boring. Really? That sucks. What about you, Issei? The third boy, Issei, was lost in thought. He was being called out to by two young boys walking beside him. One with black hair and one with coffee-colored hair. It was time for them to go home from school and they were walking back together, as per usual. But Issei had been thinking about his training up until the point his two classmates snapped him out of it. No, I didn't get to watch it. Sorry. Maki-chan ended up taking up my time over the weekend. She always likes to play stuff instead of watch stuff. Maki-chan. Oh, is that the Amado of yours? She's the one from the family visitation day. She was really loud. Yeah, she yelled a lot and kind of scared me. Well, that's different, Naratobi, you're just a wuss. While Issei's black-haired friend was mocking his coffee-haired friend, Issei was already removed from the conversation between them. He only got the chance to answer once and now they were moving on to different subjects. He merely sighed as the two continued their conversation in the background. They were approaching the school's exit entrance. Leave me alone, Gudo. I'm serious. You need to get some meat on your bones. You're really scrawny and you're gonna get picked on really easy in middle school like this. Hey Issei. You go to a dojo, right? Take this guy with you. He's too passive. He'll never get a girlfriend in high school. Stop it. I'm serious, man. You're gonna die alone at this rate. Why do you keep talking about so far in the future? Before Issei could even respond, the trio reached the gates. Time moved in slow motion as they exited. Because at that moment, Issei felt a sharp chill run down his spine. Chills. Issei froze mid-step. Time moved by the millisecond. He felt an eerily familiar sense nearby and a sharp gaze. This feeling is I was a fool not to notice it before, partner. One of them is nearby. Issei's head slowly creaked to the right of the school's entrance. Running down the wall, past the entrance, at the very corner of the street behind said wall, peeking from around its corner, there was a man standing there, silently. A man in a black suit with a red tie and a black fedora. This man was no man. He was. Glowing, red eyes before Issei and his gaze met. Fool. Do not meet his gaze, look away from him. Issei whipped his head down to the ground, eyes stretched widely, only to stare down at the concrete below. Hey, Issei, what's up? Hi Dukun. Issei's two friends called out to him, but he did not answer them. He could not hear them. Their words came to him slowly and silently, lost in nothingness. What do I do? Calm down, partner. From what it looks like, it does not seem he has noticed us. He must have caught sight of you and quickly lost interest. He does not know of me. What is he doing? I do not know. Unless you see him, I will not be able to either. Issei slowly moved his eyes to their corners. He caught sight of the man's body. Rather than directly looking towards the man's face, he merely focused on the red tie on his suit so as to not attract his gaze. Can you tell what he is doing? Yes, I am able to comprehend it through your peripherals. He is not making any significant movements. He is simply standing there silently. But his eyes are moving from child to child. He was scanning. Who is he looking at? Left. Right. Ahead. Left. Left. He is showing no pattern. He is merely observing the children who exit this place. One by one. Issei's human instincts began to influence his actions unconsciously. His eyes felt compelled to move slowly upwards, from the man's red tie to his neck. Up, further up his body. Slowly. Until. He slowly shifted his gaze to the face of the man. And he was staring right back at him. Hey Issei. Before his fear and shock could settle in any further, the face of his black-haired friend, Gudo, blocked his view of the man. Wah. Is something up with you, Issei? Issei peeked behind his friend's body to see that the man was gone. Maybe he's dead. What? Oh, he said something. Issei shook off his stiffness and smiled at his friend, nervously. Ahahaha, sorry I kinda spaced out there. Didn't get much sleep yesterday. Spent too much time training, he. Ah. You see, Narutobi. He gets it. Come on, Narutobi. You're the only one who doesn't do anything manly. At least I play soccer. So join a sport or martial art or something. That costs money, I can't be wasting it like that. No, don't worry about it. We'll just have Issei teach you those things for free. Issei, take this guy to your house. Beat him up a little bit and show him how it's done. Don't do that. Issei only laughed awkwardly at his friend's interactions. The trio continued their walk while talking. Though, Issei didn't listen to a word of it. It was all white noise to him. He looked back to the empty corner that the man, the devil, occupied before. The devil. The week began to run its course, but for Issei, there was one recurring dilemma. The man was there, again. And again. And again. Every day. He was there, every day. The same place, the same time. Every day he'd stand there and do nothing but watch. Eyes moving from place to place. Red eyes that would glow sharply in the darkness but were drowned out by the sunlight. But Issei could see it. Under the shadow of his fedora, his eyes would ever so slightly shimmer. Issei didn't know what to do. That devil was far above his own level. He could feel it. He could tell. Even if he has the ability to boost up to 5 times at this point, the devil's power is still far above. Even if Issei could do something about it, should he? Does it have anything to do with him? Could he ignore something like this? Would this ever become a threat to him or his own family? Or could he just forget about it? Should he just forget about it? What if some children happened to disappear? Would that be something he could ignore? Issei was suddenly snapped out of his deep thoughts and remembered where he was. He was at home. He was sitting in the kotatsu with his family, in the living area, eating dinner. Next to him, on his right, was his younger cousin, Maki. She was trying to feed him some of the dessert made by her mother. The children were sitting with the TV behind them, meanwhile, the parents were sitting across from them, facing the TV. Hey Maki. You shouldn't be trying to feed Issei such things. You know he has a proper diet set for his physical training. He takes his martial arts very seriously. The Kane scolded her daughter for trying to feed Issei some dessert. Issei's dinner was different from the rest of his family's and specific to his own dietary regimen. Someone at as young of an age doesn't necessarily require a regimen as much as an adult would, but suggested it would help bring him up to peak performance. That was all the reason he needed. Nom. Issei quickly nabbed the dessert from Maki's utensil with his mouth and ate it. It's okay every once in a while, Abe-san. His aunt sighed at his response while Maki brightened the room with her smile. Geez, Issei-kun. You really spoil her too much. If you keep treating her like that, soon enough she'll just start expecting things from you and become a bad girl. The Kane criticized Issei's attitude towards her daughter with her arms crossed. Issei just smiled while patting Maki's head. Nah, Maki-chan is a good girl. She'll always be a good girl. I know it. Maki giggled and purred like a kitten at Issei's touch. Akane could only sigh and slump her shoulders at her own futile attempt to give advice. Child, Issei was quite independent and it made Akane feel less competent sometimes. Many times, she would gain a small cloud over her head and sat sadly while twiddling her fingers due to her advice being proven to be unnecessary. Her husband, Satoshi, couldn't help but laugh from beside her. Issei-kun really knows how to shut you down sometimes, huh, honey? Akane was glaring at him sharply. Ah, no sorry I was wrong. Appa looks like he wants to run AWAY. Why you shouldn't make fun of Oji-san, Maki-chan Abe-san your mommy is scary. Issei's daily life was happy. It was a good life. Almost every day was like this one. His life had finally become something for him to appreciate. He wondered how long it would stay that way. But Issei's thoughts were suddenly halted and his body stiffened. From the television behind him, Issei's ears had caught onto something which made him feel chills through his entire being. Until next month. In other news, as of recently, there has been a growing number of disappearances in the Aichi prefecture. The latest disappearance was reported just yesterday in Nagoya. A young boy named Satoru Inoue, aged 9, reportedly never returned from his school of Hokusai Elementary. Authorities have been made aware of a pattern to what is suspected to be a serial kidnapper. A utensil in Issei's hand fell to the floor. Hokusai Elementary. That was his school. What he feared most had become reality. The questions he had just asked before were now worthless. Because now, they were things he didn't need to ask. It was too late. Was this his fault? Nai. Issei flinched. He realized that he was staring down at the table with wide eyes and sweat sliding down his temple. Finally, his breathing returned. He swallowed the saliva stuck in his throat and slowly lifted his head. His family was looking at him with worry. Satoshi gained a serious expression while looking at Issei. Would you like to skip school for now, Issei-kun? Issei still was not fully drawn from his shock. He shook his head to rid himself of his fear. No, it's okay, I'm okay, sorry. Akane became even more worried at Issei's hesitant response. Maybe should pick you up personally with Maki after school. Akane made that suggestion out of a concern for Issei's safety, but Issei adamantly denied, due to the fear of having them encounter the devil as well. Blah? No. I mean, no it's okay, Abe-san. I'll be fine. I always walk home with my friends anyway. But even so. Maki gripped on Issei's arm tightly with an expression of deep concern. Nai. Issei just rubbed her head softly. It's okay, Maki-chan. Nobody's gonna take me anywhere. The worry on her face didn't fade. Satoshi inhaled a bit, as if preparing to say something. Issei-kun is right, I suppose. Considering that a child has already gone missing, I imagine that the police would have officers covering school grounds during and after school. Plus, ideally, a serial kidnapper like that wouldn't want to strike in the same place twice. The fact that he's been doing it in different places within the Aichi prefecture is proof of that. Even more than that, it shows his lack of foresight and possibly his impulsiveness that he still hasn't made his way out of the Aichi prefecture to anywhere like Saitama or Kyoto yet. I'm sure he'll be caught soon. Again, Issei was reminded of Satoshi's intelligence. Satoshi truly had enough of a skill in deduction to be a detective, but instead, he became a type of financial advisor. Regardless, he really makes it hard to keep secrets. Issei suspects that if it wasn't for the fact that the idea was so unbelievable, then Satoshi would have already figured out Issei was a sacred gear user. However, unlike Satoshi, Issei did not suspect that the kidnapper would be caught soon at all. Why yeah, see. Oji-sen is right. There's nothing to worry about. I'm not gonna skip school or dojo or anything. Besides, he actually planned to go to a friend's house tomorrow, after school. The family's concern then immediately increased at that declaration. It was a lie. Issei just needed to make up an excuse in case something happened. Satoshi contemplated Issei's sudden announcement for a bit. What bad timing. You can't go there another time. I don't know if I can go either tomorrow or the day after. Naritobi hasn't decided when yet. Satoshi took a second to think a bit more. After a short while, he nodded his head. Alright, as long as you make sure that you head there accompanied by your friends and not alone. Is that friend's house nearby the school? Yeah, it's really close. Way closer than our house. Alright, good. Then as long as you all head there together, that should be fine. Akane, give Issei-kun your mobile phone for the next couple days. Issei-kun, we'll have you call me when your friend decides what day and when you reach his house as well. And call the home phone right after arriving to tell your aunt. Understand? Yeah. Issei couldn't help but feel a bit taken aback by Satoshi's attention to detail. He was making things quite difficult for Issei. Unable to fully comprehend the dynamics of such a complicated conversation, Maki pouted and simply stated her feelings. I want to go to school with Nai. Issei smiled at her statement. Don't worry, Maki-chan. Once you recover from your sickness, you can stop being homeschooled and go with me. Maki had been diagnosed with walking pneumonia a few months ago. She has been recovering slowly, but for the time being, she has been homeschooled. Ooh. Haha. She's even cute when she pouts. Partner. What are you planning? Surely you can't plan on facing him. I don't know, I'm not planning anything yet, I just need to make sure he's not there at least this week, hopefully, he won't come back. Part 2. 2 days later. In Hokusai Elementary. And so the Shogun decided that. In Dundin. Ah, there's the bell. Rise. Bow. After the students of Issei's class bowed, they began to gather their things and prepared to leave. The sensei gave them an announcement as they packed. Alright, everyone. Make sure you go in groups of 3 or more when walking home together. Nobody goes alone. If somebody is alone, then make sure to walk with them or bring them into your group. If you're walking home in a pair, then try to look for more people to walk with, even if you don't know them. 3 or more people, okay. Okay, why? As Issei was gathering his things, his 2 friends approached him along with another boy. Hey, Issei, this guy doesn't have anybody to walk home with, so we're bringing him along. Yeah, of course. The group of boys made their way out of the school quickly after acquiring a new group member. Issei wasn't as on edge as he was the day before. Luckily, the man wasn't anywhere around yesterday, but he still felt like he was being watched. There were cops around the school, just like Satoshi predicted. All of the students were heading home in groups and only separated when they were near their homes. Everything was looking good so far. As the boys approached the exit, Issei began to feel tense again. Do you think he's there today? I do not know, partner. What do you mean? You can't sense him? I'm afraid not. Why not? you could sense things from really far, a long time ago. That was the very first activation of the gear. Our connection may have been weak, but as long as I used all of my focus to concentrate on your surroundings rather than yourself, I had a large range. However, that only worked because, at your first activation, you received an automatic, but temporary, boost in stamina and instinct. I took advantage of that and focused on sensing that which was around you for many, many meters. That isn't possible now. At least, not to the extent it was. The range is much more limited. Though, at this range, it technically should be more than possible. Wait, but you said you couldn't sense him. Indeed, I cannot. Then what are you? Foolish boy. You still need to improve your instincts. Do you not understand what I am saying? I cannot sense him. That does not mean he is not there. Uh-oh. Issei's group finally reached the exit. His eyes immediately moved towards the spot the man was standing at days ago. The spot he wasn't in yesterday. And there he was. Staring right back at Issei. Blah, he's here. Issei's eyes darted over to the couple of police officers stationed by their vehicle, looking over the school. They don't notice that suspicious character. As I thought, he is eliminating his presence. A simple trick for a devil. Especially when used against mere humans. So long as they are submitted to their own thoughts, he is practically non-existent to them. Issei realized Drake's point. The officers were only observing the children who exited from the entrance. All of the students heading home were just walking in groups and conversing with each other casually. Many groups passed right by the man without a second thought, without noticing. So that's how it is. Issei looked back to the man, but he was not looking back. The man was scanning the students again. Until his eyes were caught onto a certain group. He stared at them for a few seconds. Then, out of nowhere, one of the boys from the group the man was staring at suddenly stopped. The man's eyes glowed a red light for a split second, and the random boy soon imitated it. Sorry, guys. I forgot I have to go to my cousin's house today. I'll head off with that group over there. The boy spoke in a monotone voice to his friends. They seemed confused, but said their goodbyes as the boy headed off to another group. Drake, did he just do something to that other kid? Most likely. I am impressed. He did not need to initiate eye contact or speak to him for it to work. The seemingly hypnotized boy introduced himself to a different group of children, and they walked together with him, off to an entirely different direction. As soon as the group of children crossed the street, the man took a step forward. Is he gonna follow them? The man began walking forward in what seemed like slow motion to Issei. His step was heavy and loud, and in Issei's mind, he could hear the news report from the other day playing repeatedly. A young boy named Satoru Inoue, aged 9, reportedly never returned from his school of Hokusai Elementary. Step. What the? Hey, Issei, where are you going? Sorry, guys. I forgot today I was going to meet my family at my grandparents' house, so I'm gonna walk with that group over there. Go on without me. What the heck, man? At least say something earlier. Sorry. Issei ran off after the man, following the group of children and the devil himself. I can't actually join their group. I have to follow him discreetly and see what he does. What exactly do you intend on doing, partner? To his partner's question, Issei had no concrete answer. I don't know. Issei followed the man with a considerable distance between him. Just as Issei suspected, the boy was under some sort of mind control, and the devil was following him. The hypnotized boy walked with his group in a soulless manner. After some time, they all reached the suburban areas. The children began to separate, one by one, since their houses were right in front of them, or close by. Soon enough, there were just 2 children left. Oh, there's my house. Where's your house at? Mine's right there. Oh, I see it. Cool. Okay, see you later. Bye. The other boy separated from the hypnotized child, leaving him alone, finally. The man was right around the corner, and Issei was using another house across the street as cover, to view both of them. The boy turned around lifelessly. Then, the man finally gave up on hiding himself, and he simply walked off in a certain direction. Only seconds after that, the hypnotized boy started walking in the same direction as the man. With a huge gap between the two. He's leading him out of the house. Issei followed the two. This time, he was following behind the hypnotized boy directly, more closely than when he did for the man. They exited the suburban areas, crossed many streets, past many restaurants, and past a park. Before Issei realized it, time began to pass and pass. What's happening? Haven't we already been to this street? No, I'm almost certain we have. Issei was right. They had been to this street, and that one, and the one after. They passed the same restaurants as well. And the same parks. The same intersections. Issei only noticed after an entire hour, when he had already repeated some places, twice each. Wait. We're going in circles. Why would? 10 more minutes passed. They all reached an intersection they had been to twice before, but this time, something was different. This time, the man took a turn in the opposite direction. He finally made a different turn. Could it be, was he just going to the same places in such an odd order to throw off any possible pursuers? It certainly does look that way. Damn. He's smart. There's no doubt he's gonna take us somewhere with no people. Again, Issei's assumption was correct. The man made his way through different paths, while the two boys followed. It was almost sunset, past 4 o'clock. The days would get darker earlier at this time of year. Issei was worried about how long this would take. He already called Satoshi and Akane both to inform them that he was safe at his friend's house. He even asked a random young boy to say hi over the phone in order to convince them, to which the boy agreed and said hi very loudly, while his mother scolded him for listening to the requests of strangers. Nevertheless, Issei's lie persuaded his guardians, and his pursuit was successful so far. The problem was, he didn't even have a scratch of a plan. What the? Are you kidding? Why? Why does it have to be a place like that, out of all places? The man was headed straight into a forest. Not the forest that Issei would train in secretly, but a forest nonetheless. Issei sneered at the fact that the Aichi prefecture seemed to be riddled with forests. Kuo was surrounded by grassy mountains, so forests were basically where he lived, but the fact that the devil was using a forest to do his deeds was an insultingly stupid coincidence to him. Though, he shouldn't be surprised. It isn't as if it was the worst place to use. It made sense. Still, its practicality didn't infuriate him any less. The hypnotized boy then walked into the forest after the man, and the moment he vanished from Issei's sight into the trees, Issei bolted towards them. And because of his lack of preparation, he felt panicked. No. What should I do? Damn it. Issei ran into the forest, trying to hide himself behind trees. He could see the hypnotized boy walking farther and farther ahead of him, but the devil was nowhere in sight. Come on. Where are you? I can't get any closer if I can't see him. A few minutes of the boy walking past. Then, the boy randomly came to a stop. What's the devil? Silence. Crunch. The sound of the crunching of leaves, coming directly from the left of the hypnotized boy. The man had finally revealed himself, emerging from the tree line. He approached the boy and stopped when he reached him. The man stood silently over the boy, and Issei's mind started racing. What is he gonna do? What should I do? Is it gonna happen? Am I going to watch that boy die? Issei's body began to shake. He grit his teeth tightly. He felt like his palms would tear under the pressure of his grip. Brig boost. Boost. What are you doing, partner? In order to prepare for times when stealth was necessary, Issei implemented the skill within himself to silently boost his strength. He has the ability to boost without his gear being materialized and prevents it from making a sound when boosting. He can only do this until he reaches his limit of 5 boosts. Once he reaches the 5th boost, the gear automatically materializes, and after that boost, it resets. However, the light is still something that shines from the back of his hand when he does it, so he covers it with his shirt. This is how he secretly boosts during spars. He looked back to the two standing there together. An intense fear was planted in his mind. He could hear his heartbeat pumping in his head loudly. He waited in suspense for what was to come. Move or don't move, move or don't move, move or don't move. The devil slowly raised his right arm to shoulder level. His arm stayed in the air unmoving. He reared his arm back and the devil slashed at the air around him in a full 360-degree spin. His body froze immediately after. What did? Before Issei could understand what happened, he heard a loud cracking sound from next to him and all around him. Crack. Wah. Almost all of the trees in the surrounding area were split in half. Wah. The trees were sliced so quickly that they floated in the air briefly and then came crashing down to the ground. Crack. Ah. Issei dove out of the way of the falling trees as they all collectively crashed to the floor. Issei groaned as he slowly lifted himself off the ground. He propped himself up on one knee. Ah, so, you were hiding there, were you? Issei froze as he heard an unfriendly voice, speaking directly to him. The place that Issei and the other two occupied was now nothing but a makeshift clearing. Issei was completely exposed and visible. In a state of shock, he shifted his gaze to the left of himself, where the voice of the man the devil spoke out to him from. That's odd, you glow so brilliantly. When Issei finally turned, the devil was standing above him, reaching out with his black glove, centimeters from Issei's face. It's disgusting. Issei jumped back without hesitation and created a gap between him and the man. That's not right, that's too fast a movement for a boy. The man said that with his face shrouded in darkness. Only his red eyes glowed in the shadows, piercing through Issei's form. Issei shot his eyes towards the hypnotized boy, who was standing aimlessly, alone. Issei quickly circled around, behind the man's line of sight, and ran to grab the unguarded boy. But the man was already standing between them. "Oh, this one? No, he was just a tool to lure you out, honestly." Issei skied to a stop, but his momentum was too strong for him to fully halt. So, instead, he spawned his gauntlet and jumped straight into the man's jaw. Boost. On. That's not right either. The man pushed against Issei's gear with only his cheek to look directly at him. Unaffected. That's too strong for a boy. Issei retreated in a great shock while the man continued speaking in a manner that made Issei uneasy. "You were trying to get to this boy. So the decoy worked. I was trying to get you to follow me, but I didn't think you would. I had to take you in circles to make sure you didn't notice the first time I took someone, but I guess that's just my bad timing." Issei stood upright while not understanding what was going on. "He was trying to lure me out. Why? Did he know I had a sacred gear? How? You're asking why I wanted you to chase me, right? That's because you're the only one who's ever noticed me. I wasn't making my presence known, but you still caught me, even if I was staring at you. Your human instinct shouldn't have warned you about it, so there had to be something more to you. No, even more than that. You're glowing so brightly. That's not right. I've never seen someone glow that brightly. What the hell are you talking about? Your language isn't right either. That's not how a boy talks." The man spoke in an eerie tone with every single word. Issei could not see his face due to the dark shadows covering it, but he could see his red glowing eyes stare sharply into him. They were wide open. As if his expression was devoid of any emotion. "You're asking about the glow, aren't you? The glow you're glowing. This other boy is not glowing. He was just a fake to bring you out, so he's not glowing like you or all the others." Issei didn't care for the man's rambling. The man only looked towards the boy behind him. "But you see, I was born with a special ability to see people who glow for a long time. I didn't know what it meant. Not a lot of people around me were like that, but I would see them every few years. Even my elder brother had a quiet glow around him. I soon found out that it was a sign from God." Issei's brain stopped when he heard the man's remark. "God. You're a devil." Silence. Issei flinched harshly at the man's sudden outburst. "That is something I know well. Of course I know. It's something I have to live with every day because I am the necessary sacrifice. The blood of Christ was spilled to relieve man of his sins this time. I shall bear sin so that others needn't bear the burden themselves, and I shall bear the burden for the sake of divine justice. To take the life of another is a crime against God's creation. That is why I shall become the sacrificial pawn to God's plan and prevent those who are destined to kill from taking the lives of others." Prevent taking the lives of others. "Yes, you see, boy, this glow that surrounded my brother and these boys, including you, is the glow of a murderer." Issei was left entirely confused by the man's declaration. "What? My brother? He so loathed my mother. He loathed her intensely despite the fact that she loved him, that she cared for him. He loathed her nonetheless. Then, one day, he and mother were arguing with one another. I noticed it then. In the midst of it, his glow began to become brighter. Brighter and brighter. Until, it almost reached a point where I could not look at him directly. It was at its brightest when he had his hands reaching out, gripping around my mother's neck, but right before the glow increased any further, it stopped. It ceased when he was just short of squeezing his fingers around her neck, and as he let go, the glow died down to almost nothingness. It became nothing but a faint glimmer again. At that moment, I realized he was going to kill my mother. That glow, it was the indicator that he was going to become a murderer. It was then that I finally came to understand this is a gift. A sign. A sign from God. He was telling me to save my mother. He was telling me to save her life from my murderous brother. Not only her, but many others as well. The world around me was surrounded by those with faint glows. Not many of them were there beside me, but I could find them if I looked for them. God was speaking to me. He was begging me to stop them. Stop them from taking the innocent lives of his beloved children. To take on the burden of sin for the sake of divine justice. While the man gave an empowered speech, Issei was confused about one minor detail. "What did you do to your brother?" The man only looked down at Issei curiously. I killed him, of course. He was nothing but a filthy sinner who desired the destruction of one of the many innocent temples that God created. If I had not killed him then, he would surely have killed my mother. The same can be said for all of the others until this point. If I had not killed them, then they would surely grow to become those who take the lives of innocent children of God. The others? You mean the children? Is it your age? Is that why you do not understand? It is obvious, isn't it? I've been killing them. Fear spread through Issei's body. But somewhere, deep below that fear rested a silent rage. They were destined for it. I cannot allow the deaths of God's innocent children. They would surely grow to become brutal scum who destroy the lives of others. That's why it is best if I eliminate them as quickly as possible. That is why I accepted the conditions set by that repulsive devil. I needed to sacrifice my soul for the greater good. I needed to become the murderer of murderers. I needed the ability to serve my proper purpose. But as I thought, I could not stand such an existence continuing. That earthless devil was meant to die by my hand. It was natural, I'm sure you understand. Now, I am free. Free to cleanse the world of those who would defile God's creations. Now that you understand, here is my question to you, boy. Why is it that you glow so brilliantly? Even my own brother did not shine so greatly when he was at the moment of killing my mother. Could it be? It couldn't possibly be true. Could it be that you've already tasted blood once before? The man, no, the devil. This man was a devil. And this devil's glowing red eyes pierced through Issei. You don't mess with me. I've never killed anyone before. I do not suspect deceitful practice in your tongue. Then why is it possible? Don't ask me, moron. Greg, what the hell is he talking about? This guy, he has to be insane. Indeed. However, I feel that I may have an assumption as to why he speaks of this. What are you talking about, Drake? Explain. We don't have time to be messing around. Indeed, we do not, partner. I suspect this divine ability of his is nothing more than a low-level sacred gear. The gear? It seems likely. You are the brightest one he has ever encountered. It suggests that you are the first gear user he has met that has unlocked their power. His sibling must have been at the height of its activation, but stopped just short of it. The children he has been killing must be dormant gear possessors. I suspected as well that there may have been 2 others besides yourself that possessed a gear, enclosed within that educational institution you attend, but they were locked from them. They were also low level, in comparison to yours, which is a long-minus. This guy. He's been hunting gear users, and he doesn't even know it himself. Maybe if I explain it. Do not be foolish, boy. This a deranged devil. He will not heed your words. Wait, but if he's been hunting gear users without knowing it, then those children were innocent from the start. Is it not obvious? Without saying anything to Drake or the devil, Issei began boosting his power further. Straight to his limit. Boost. You cannot win this. You are glowing brighter. That's not right. Boost. What exactly do you plan on doing? Unless does that mean you have manifested your wish to kill me? Boost. As I thought, you must have spilt the blood of the innocent once before. In that case, I will erase you. Boost. Explosion. Power burst from the small figure of Issei. His body was surrounded by a soft, thin, green aura, shocking the devil. What? What is this? Could it be you weren't human at all? I see. So that is how it must be. You must be in alliance with the filthy forces of the devils. Disguising as a human child, it seems I was the one who was tricked. As I thought, I must eliminate you after all. Issei's teeth grit tightly. The images of families at the funerals of their own young children filled his mind. His fear was finally replaced with rage. You murderess. Issei launched himself towards the devil at a speed the devil was not prepared for. Fool. A stray has no boundaries set to their power. Even if he was a weakling before, he is free now. He is no longer barred by any restrictions set before. Issei readied his gear in midair and brought it forward as if it was in slow motion, with full force. Issei's gear was planted right in the devil's jaw. The force of the punch sent the devil sliding back and rolling into the ground. Now. The moment Issei touched the ground, he swiftly snatched up the boy and ran straight back in the direction he came from, at top speed. Wah, he ran. You were planning on running from the start, I see. Of course I was. I can't win like this. And I definitely can't leave this kid behind. Ha. Is that your reasoning? I should have known it was such an excuse. If you had planned on running from the beginning, then you would have done so easily. Instead, you risk your own life for such a reason. For nothing but a stranger, yet again. You are a naive and foolish boy indeed. Would you quit berating me and tell me if he's chazzing me or not? He is. What? Just as Issei took a peek behind him, he heard the sharp sound of wind. Boom. There you are. The devil was flying right above the cascade of trees Issei was running through. Sleek, black wings held him high in the air. Get back here. I will not allow you to harm that child. I'm the one trying to save him, you worthless bastard. Boom. Suddenly, the devil dove into the forest of trees and started flying a few meters behind Issei. What the? Use your environment to your advantage. Damn it. Issei launched himself up and began jumping from tree branch to increase his coverage of ground further. You're fast. But you will not escape. I will save that boy. Shut the hell up, you scum. You're a damn murderer who kills innocent kids. All you've been hunting is nothing but sacred gear users, moron. You've just been using your own to find them. Ah. You cannot deceive me. Such a thing was nothing but a lie created by those devils who fostered me. But those devils not have told him he had one. They may not have had the chance to. Fucking damn it. The chase continued. Issei didn't know what speed he was moving at, but it had to be around 30 kilometers per hour, he assumed. He could easily catch up to a good amount of vehicles at this point. Despite that, the devil behind him kept pace with almost no trouble at all. The devil maneuvered through the trees with little effort. Only 3 meters separated the both of them. Damn. For someone who hates devils, he's sure good at using his wings. Indeed. He is closing in by the minute. Damn. It doesn't look like I'll have a choice then. Issei looked as far ahead as he could and formulated a strategy. He started jumping in a certain pattern, making sure the devil followed him at every turn. Partner. Not now, Drag. He's close. I know, Drag. Boom, boom. The devil was flapping his wings vigorously. He was closing in. Now I have. The devil reached out to grab Issei as he drew closer. His arm was centimeters from Issei's shirt. But. Boost. Issei proclaimed it loudly as he held his gauntlet reared back in front of the devil's face. Then came the light. Boost. Shine. Ah. The devil was blinded for what had to have been less than a full second. Unfortunately for him. Wah. That was enough time for him to meet the brunt of a large, sturdy branch of a tree. Whack. Ah. Due to the devil's momentum, the collision caused him to flip and crash him into the ground, brutally. Issei laughed proudly as he furthered himself from the body of the devil that was grounded. You have exceeded your boost limit, partner. You will reset soon. I know. That's why I'm busting my ass to get away right now. This was your strategy? His fault for flying so damn fast. Asshole should have kept his eyes on the road. Kukukukuhaha. A child using trickery to incapacitate a stray devil in his supple 9th year of life. To an existence like myself, it sounds like a joke. Kuhahaha. What sort of host have I been matched with? Is this a blessing or a curse? Hahaha. Don't call me a curse, you stupid lizard. Shut up, you're hurting my head. The devil that was left far behind Issei lifted himself from the ground as he heard the sounds of the child yelling far in the distance. Likewise, Issei could hear the devil scream loudly from within the trees. He was a great length away at this point. Just try it. Partner. He knows which educational institution you attend. Do you believe he cannot lure you out once again? He won't need to, Drag. Oh? The Kawa residence. As usual, Akane was in the kitchen cooking dinner while Maki sat on the couch in the living room, bored. Ding dong. Maki brightened up when she heard the doorbell ring. Nai. Stay there, Maki. I'll go see who it is. Okay. Akane left the living area and approached the front door. Without opening it, she answered. Satoshi? Is that you? She heard a familiar voice from behind. Ah, Abe-san, it's me. Oh. Akane unlocked the door and opened it without hesitation. Akin. Ice-kun. We didn't expect you back from your friend so soon. Akane's speech died off when she laid eyes upon the unconscious boy that Issei was piggyback carrying. Sorry, I didn't know where he lived. Ice-kun, that boy is. Issei forced an awkward smile. Both of the boys' bodies were covered in dirt and sweat. Haha, his name is Satoru. Akane's eyes widened in a terrified shock. Maki. Bring mommy the phone right now. Ice-kun, inside, hurry. Akane pulled the boys in and quickly shut and locked the door. Maki stepped out from the living area in curiosity. Mama. What's wrong? Maki, go upstairs with Ice-kun and lock yourselves in the room. Don't come out until me or your father comes to get you. Ice-kun, do you still have my phone? Yeah, here. Good. Now go. Don't come out until we get you. Issei placed the boy on his back again and carried him up the stairs while Maki followed him fearfully. Nai, what's happening? I'm scared. It's okay, Maki-chan. He's not coming here. The children locked themselves in Issei's room upstairs, leaving Akane alone. She quickly turned off all of the main lights in the house and opened her flip phone to dial a certain number. Ring. Aichi Prefectural Police Department, how may I help you? It was the dead of night. A young boy was walking through a familiar forest, the crunch of leaves under his shoes. Is this truly the best course of action that you see, partner? Does it seem like I have a choice? I suppose not. He continued walking. After Issei arrived home with the unconscious boy, the authorities were called. Satoshi immediately returned home a bit early, with the permission from his superiors. The authorities retrieved the unconscious boy and asked Issei how he came across him. Issei lied and explained that he found him wrapped in a bag behind a store. He didn't lie entirely. The store was near the forest itself. The authorities were currently investigating the area around it. It was Issei's failsafe. If it became too dangerous for him to face the devil, then all he needed to do was bring attention to the forest. Hopefully, it won't come to that. He suspects that by tomorrow morning, there would be many news reports involving him and maybe even some calling him a young hero of some sort. He wasn't a hero. Not yet, at least. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. As Issei was approaching his destination, he could vaguely make out the sound of a prayer. He had heard this prayer once before. From where? His friend Shidu. No, it was Shidu's father. There was one time that he spent the night at Shiru's house. He couldn't sleep and heard a voice coming from downstairs. There, in the living room, was Shidu's father, praying in front of something. An object. A large cross. A sword. Crunch. Issei finally took one step out from the sea of trees and into the clearing he was in just hours ago. This time, the clearing was even more of a proper clearing. It didn't have the fallen and cut down trees lying around. It looks as if they were destroyed, smashed into pieces. Though there were some trees he passed along the way that looked like they had been tossed. He was now standing right at the entrance of a perfectly circular battlefield. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the middle of the field was the devil, sitting on his knees, reciting a prayer. His hands held above his head, with a crucifix necklace in between his gloved hands. A small amount of steam seemed to be arising from his palms as well. And there was blood leaking out of his ears. Greg, you once told me that, as the Sekiryuite killing was going to become normal for me, right? Indeed. It is unavoidable. Child. I will not ask why you question it now, but I am sure that you will still tell me, won't you? Issei lifted his gaze from the ground. His sharp hateful glare pierced through the devil's head. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the NOSFERATU869 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.